Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at your detailed forecast for October 20th of 2019, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. Now, you folks that may have been watching the tropical update through the summer are probably looking at your phone or over on YouTube or over on WDAM.com going, hey, wait a second. What happened to the tropical update? Well, with the tropical season kind of slowing down, we wanted to still offer you guys a detailed look at the weather that could be affecting the region. And we came up with this, the detailed forecast, where we take the actual forecast and we get into kind of the nuts and bolts a little more to give you guys a better idea about what to expect going forward. So we'll start things off with a look at the radar. Here we are on Sunday afternoon. We got some cloud cover down off to the south and west of us, and then frontal boundary, which is well back off to the northwest. This is actually going to fire up some showers, thunderstorms, and the potential for some severe weather later this afternoon and this evening and into the overnight hours for parts of eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, and East Texas, and probably parts of extreme northwestern Louisiana. And then it's going to continue to push our direction as we head through the day on Monday and into the afternoon and evening for parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama. It doesn't look very robust right now. In fact, we can slide this thing to the north. I'm going to go even further off to the north. Your area of low pressure is actually hanging out in the Dakotas right now, and this is going to trek basically kind of east-northeast toward the Great Lakes. Because it's so far away from us, we're probably going to have not as much in the way of severe weather around here. The idea was originally that we may get a little area of surface low pressure to try and develop across parts of East Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. But as of now, that doesn't look as likely. There may be a little area of low pressure down at the surface that forms just north of the Gulf of Mexico. But with that happening, that's so far off to the south that it may actually preclude the chances for severe weather across parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee, because the warm front may not push all the way to the north. We'll talk all about this, though, coming up in a hot second. In the meantime, though, from the SPC, they're highlighting the area with a marginal to slight risk for severe weather. That's a 1 and a 2 on that 1 to 5 scale, where 5 is the highest risk. For us, I think I've been saying this last couple of days, the SPC had us pegged with a slight risk, and then they kind of moved it a little to the northwest, and I said, hey, they're going to pull it all the way back. They moved it a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if by tomorrow the slight risk is only across some of maybe our northwestern counties. Zooming it back out, in terms of the rainfall, there is a chance for flash flooding across basically most of the state of Louisiana, Mississippi, and a big chunk of parts of Alabama as we head through the day on Monday. Again, as this front rolls through, the good news is it's been so dry around here that like widespread flooding isn't as much of a concern as like localized flooding. You get a heavy thunderstorm that rolls through, drops an inch, maybe an inch and a half of rain in 30 minutes. The water comes up on the side of the roads. You may even have water over certain roads for a short period of time, and then down it goes because it's been so dry, the water can just run right off, and everything's fine. But nevertheless, flash flooding that again comes up and goes away in the better part of about an hour or two is a concern as we head through the day on Monday. Also a concern, the wind. Generally, for this risk of severe weather, I think we're going to get a line of thunderstorms that rolls through, and within that line of storms, wind gusts 30, 40, 50, even approaching maybe 60 miles an hour at times. Tornado risk, we can't quite rule it out. A marginal risk there. It's at low, but not zero. It never is around here when it comes to severe weather. I don't think we can rule out seeing maybe some dime-sized hail in some of the stronger storms. And again, that limited risk, that marginal risk, to use the official word, a marginal risk for some flash flooding from the WPC. The timeline here from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 5 o'clock in the afternoon for South Mississippi. Now, if you're watching this in Jackson, if you're watching this in Biloxi, I know some folks probably watch this across parts of western Alabama or maybe eastern Louisiana. The further west you are, the earlier it's going to be. The further to the east you are, the later it's going to be for you guys. So again, for South Mississippi, this is a 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock event. We ran the numbers on the Carrier stress meter. I actually left it where it was yesterday. We got some new data in, and new data isn't always better data. And unfortunately, the new data that came in was a little suspect. I couldn't pull data out that was very reliable. So I'm just going to stick with what we had yesterday, which is a 2.74. Stress-o-meter again, you divide it in half, and that generally should give you your SPC risk. So we're 2.75. That's a 1.37. So that's somewhere between a marginal and a slight risk. And again, if we go back here, somewhere between a marginal and a slight risk across the area. So the stressometer, it was birthed out of something for fun, but actually the math ends up doing a pretty decent job at breaking down exactly what we're looking at. So what are we looking at? Well, let's start things off with Futurecast the afternoon. Today, really not much doing as we head through tomorrow morning. 7, 8 o'clock, you'll wake up, probably mostly cloudy conditions across the area. You can see the line of thunderstorms at 8 a.m. across parts of central Louisiana and Arkansas. That's going to move this direction as we head through the day. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms entering some of our western counties. But notice not as many reds in here as there was earlier in the morning across parts of Louisiana. The good place to produce severe weather, I think, is going to be across parts of East Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas. As it moves into Mississippi, the risk for severe weather shifts off to the north. For us, I think a lot of this kind of falls apart as it passes on through. Doesn't mean we don't get any wind or any rain, any lightning, any hail. We'll still have a chance for some severe weather, but not as much as other places. And I actually tend to think that as we head forward in time, it's going to kind of re-energize as we head through the later evening hours as it gets across parts of eastern Alabama and parts of the Florida Panhandle as well. But by 5 o'clock, stuff starts to move out of here, and then it's basically gone by the time we get toward 10 o'clock. So if you're watching the news on Saturday around here, I said, well, right now it's from 3 to 10. We've been able to shift that a little bit earlier in the day and shrink the window down a little bit. So instead of 3 to 10, a 7-hour window, we're now talking about a 4-hour window of 1 to 5 with this. And it should move through pretty quickly, and that's one of the reasons that we're dealing with a lot of wind, is because the storms are going to be moving pretty quick. In terms of the overall threat for rainfall, I'm going to start things off with the RPM here. And you can see on the key here, somewhere between a ½ inch to maybe an inch, inch and a half across the area. We can look at the high-res model, and we can get some numbers on here for you guys. Again, ½ inch, inch and a quarter, inch and a half, kind of somewhere in that ballpark. We can look at the North American model, the NAM here, and we can see, well, are there any higher numbers? No, it's basically the same. Again, I said this yesterday, a ½ inch to an inch and a half. Somebody who's unlucky or lucky, depending on how you shake it out, is going to end up with probably 2 inches of rain, but I don't think we see too much in the way of flash flooding. Now, once we get beyond that, we're going to have another chance for rain later in the week. So here's your big area of low pressure. Look how far away it is from South Mississippi. Usually, we need areas of low pressure to be a little bit closer. Kansas City, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, for us to really worry about severe weather, even as far south as Shreveport and Jackson. Again, for us to worry about severe weather, it's so far off to the north, it's just a little more difficult for us to shake out severe storms around here. Tuesday, things looking good. Wednesday, things looking good. By Thursday, you see we get a little bit of troughiness back here on our isobar map for 500 millibars. And by the time we get toward Friday, that's when the next chance for rain swings through the area, as another area of low pressure tries to develop across parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Notice, though, again, your big area of low pressure in the mid-levels is well off to the north. The trough just kind of digs itself into the south. That passes through as we head through the day, Friday and into Saturday. And I think we actually start clearing things out by the time we get towards Saturday. Next weekend's actually looking pretty good, but it will bring a fair amount of rain on Friday. So this is our GFS model. It is more coarse data. It's not quite as fine. We don't have as many data points on here. But you know, you can see through Monday morning at 8 a.m., really not, or 8 p.m. I should say, or really not that much. ½ inch, inch and a half, that's about as bad as it's going to get. Then as we head through Friday, I think we get more of a slug of some tropical moisture in here from the Gulf of Mexico. I think there's just going to be better rain producers. Thus, we end up with more rain through the day on Friday. I'm hoping most of this rain falls earlier in the day so we can get some of the local football games in with little consequence. Unfortunately, it looks like, as of right now at least, that some of these storms may linger into the afternoon and evening, which means we could have another situation where we have to delay football games, or they're trying to play a day early on Thursday, or maybe even a day later on Saturday. So weather on your radar. Storms possible Monday, severe weather possible. Your timeline 1 to 5 o'clock. We're cooler by midweek with highs in the 70s, and more rain on Friday. Right now, the severe weather threat on Friday is looking a whole lot lower, which is some good news, but we still have time to get there, unfortunately. That may change over the next couple of days. 60s as you wake up tomorrow morning, and again, here comes a line of showers and thunderstorms through the afternoon. I actually think we hit our high temperature a little after lunchtime for tomorrow, 12, 1, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on where you're at. And then, well, we're back behind the front, so we start cooling things down with the temperatures hanging out in the 70s for tomorrow afternoon. 72 in Hattiesburg, 71 in Columbia. or 72 in Columbia, 71 in Collins. So there's a look at your detailed forecast for October 20th of 2019. Again, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters.